No. No. Hello. 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 Hello.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah. Can you see the
Yes, ma'am.
screen with the PPT?
No,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You
Yes,
can
ma'am.
see
I
it.
can see it.
What is
Yes,
it
ma'am.
written?
International Human Resource Management.
Human resource
Yeah.
management.
Finally, success. Okay. See, today's topic would be on international human resource management. This is very important. Yeah. Jayant, any query? Jayant raised his hand. Is there anyone in the waiting room now? No. Okay.
No,
No.
ma'am.
Okay. Okay, guys. See, international human resource management is a very important topic, and for sure you'll be getting a question in that during your examinations. Okay. Here, here actually the world is frequently changing, and we are in global recession and in crisis type of situation now. But then managing international business is very, very important, and the way we manage the home country business and business abroad is something different. In this session, I will be teaching you on different aspects of whatever you have never heard about till date, on how you manage human resources in different perspectives. Certain terminologies which you have never even heard about it, we will be discussing it in today's class. We are trying to find out if there is any best practices in HRM which is applicable throughout the globe, or throughout the country, or from one country to the other country, and we will try to find out the principles of managing people universally, because people differ from their culture and their expectations, but how do you manage them? So that's what we are trying to find out here. Now, the focus is on the intercultural, or is it about international? So what is the difference? That also we are trying to find out. See, this particular PPT talks about various eras, like starting from 1920 when HRM came into place. We had different zones, and different countries were entering into different uh, type of businesses, because before 1992 the scenario was entirely different. So we didn't have we had trade barriers, so we didn't have an open policy. Only after globalization, privatization, we went into the other countries for doing some trade. So it had an evaluation day by day on how we managed business with the other countries. So this has been given here in this 4 slides. Now I will tell you there are actually 4 different perspectives of managing human resources. The first one is international perspective, then multinational perspective, global perspective, and transnational perspective. So there are some domestic companies. When you talk about international perspective, we have got some domestic companies, and we have got some foreign partners with us. Okay, so some foreign direct investment comes into that particular company. So those companies are called as international perspective. Like some only technology will be there. We will have a technological tie-up with a German-based company. So that companies are there. Multinational companies, so the market now differs. So we are catering to the international markets, so it is called as multinational companies. Global perspective is like we are going to compete with the companies all over the globe. Competitiveness is very wide, so that we need to standardize our products. If that is the case, then we call it as a global perspective. Then transnational perspective is only about 2 different scenario. One is the home country and other one is the host country. So how do you manage in home country and how do you manage in host country? So these are the 4 different types of perspectives in which you have to view human resource management. Okay, see here again, I'll be explaining one by one. So in international companies, it is about the transport of its business outside the home country. Okay, each of its operation is a replication of the company's domestic experience. It is actually structured graphically and it involves many subsidiary general managers. So the companies will be offering different types of products and they will find out how to be organized in different countries, and they will try to bring in a common information system for accounting, financial and management control, and marketing. So they will try to make it something which is called as best practice, and they will try to make themselves into a multinational company. But what is multinational company? Multinational company grows and defines its business into the worldwide basis by continuously allocating its resources among the national or the regional areas. So I do business in my home country as well as I take up my hands to the other countries also. So when it is spoken as global organization, where I treat the entire globe as a single country, a big country, and I am competing with the other companies also. Okay, supposing if I'm manufacturing a car, I have to compete with German-based car companies, and I have to compete with Lamborghini also, which is based in Italy. So global organizations are catering to global business. The standards has to be escalated to a different level. And likewise, transactional companies, you should be very cautious. Transactional companies concentrates for the local market as well as for the global market. Got the point, guys? So what is your market and what is your product and with whom are you competing? In this way only companies are differing. Those companies which has got operations apart from the host country in which the company originates. Okay, see, there are two diagrams. These two diagrams you should be very thorough with. See, now what happens here is the global efficiency, what happens in different types of companies. See, locally, how much I am going to respond, and then for global efficiency, how is that I am going to come out with. See, what happens is, see, a company cannot concentrate on both local as well as global. So there are certain companies which concentrates only on local and they concentrates on the foreign countries also. So that is why we have classified the companies into four. See, if you take local responsiveness in India, supposing if you take local responsiveness is low. If I call my company as an international company, because I am actually getting my foreign direct investment, so my local responsiveness is very, very low. But what happens is global efficiency is also very low. Okay, my local responsiveness is also low. Global efficiency is also low. Just I am taking some trade benefits from a foreign tie-up like a business venture or joint venture, and I'm operating my company. That's all. Okay, so I'm not more than that. But if you take multinational company has to work for the local market, local consumers as well as for the international consumers. So response for this multinational company is high in the local market, but the efficiency globally is low for them. But if you take global company means my concentration is only for the other outside my country. So responsiveness for local market is very less, but for global efficiency it is very high. Okay, but if you take transnational companies, I have to cater to my local market as well as to the foreign markets. You got the point, guys? This is how the four the companies which are operating for the customers other than your own motherland are being classified, and then they are talking about the interaction with the home country and with the host countries. Okay, so next diagram, if you see differentiation, how do they come out with some products? What is the differentiation inside their nation, within their home country, and for global coordination, how is that they work? So for national differentiation, if you see international is low and multinational is high, whereas for global it is high in global coordination. Transnational, as I've told you, automatically I have to take care of my local. I am the best actually. So I take care of my local as well as I take care of my foreign consumers also. Okay, so there are some examples of companies which is of multiple capability. Supposing if you take Toyota is like it is for the global coordination and integration. It's the highest. If you take General Motors, then it is driven for the local markets as well as for the global competition. Fiat, it is only responsible for the local market. It concentrates more for the Indian customers. Okay, so now the key trends are nearly 63,000 transnational companies account for more than half, two-thirds of the world trade. So you would have all been talking about, no, in this present scenario, what is going to happen to the world trade. Now the war is going on, the bio war is going on only for the world trade. We don't know whether it's true or not, but there is something. The world trade is very important because lots and lots of money is involved in it. When I am concentrating on world trade, which means my export should be more and my import should be lesser, only then my country will become a developed economy. So the transnational companies are into the war, and nearly two-thirds of the world trade are with the transnational companies only. And the top 100 companies, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, they account for 14% of the worldwide sales and 12% of assets and 13% of employment. So they are very important, and the way you manage human resources in these companies are something very different. And the physical location of value creation is also very difficult because the expectations of the employees are very different. Okay, so much of the force of globalization comes through mergers, acquisition, takeover, isn't it or not? Some spin-offs are also happening. Joint ventures, all these things have happened. Particularly, you will know, we have now gone into the game after 1992. We cannot come back now. We have to go and fight. There is nothing, no other way for us. It has to go on. So now, when you are in this particular scenario, we have to come out with the impact of globalization and the nature of the work what is being done. So first, we need to talk about the classification of the manufacturing companies, then their processing services, and we are not concentrating on the what type of job they are going to do. Like, is it white collar or is it going to be blue collar type of workers? But now the question for HR managers. Okay, madam, you have said very clearly about what the 4 different classifications are there. But if I am into an international firm, my business is with my home country as well as the foreign country. What strategy will I draft? Okay, what will be my action plan? How can I be successful? We understand that each country is different. Laws are different, trade unions are different, labor market is different. But how do I cater everyone? What is the HR I'm going to follow? And then what is about the cultural norm? How will that impact the HR policy? Then how will I choose people to work for the foreign company, expatriate management? So people, those who go from the home country to the foreign country are called as expatriates. Got my point, guys? 2 words alone you remember. For, our country people who go from the home country to a foreign country and work are called as expatriates. Likewise, people, those who return back from the foreign country to their home country are called as repatriates. Okay, so managing these 2 people are very different for a HR manager. Got the point, guys? Then how do you move people to different locations? Supposing I have got a person, he is very weak. He doesn't know the language. He doesn't accomplish himself. He is not, he is very choosy in food. He has got his own religious belief. If a person is in such a situation, can I put that particular person to a place where you got a stringent measure which has a religious constraints? You have to look into it. And how do we manage the transfer of knowledge across the border? That also the HR manager has to take care of. Now, supposing you are operating a company, okay? So 2 names what you should remember: home country. Home country means parent country. Where I am born, that country is called my parent country national. So what I can do is I can employ a person with the parent country. அங்கேயே பிறந்து வளர்ந்தவனுக்கு வேலை கொடுக்கலாம். That is parent country nationals. Host country national is someone who goes to one particular country and he works. Okay, supposing you are in India, you work for Saravana Bhavan Hotel. So there is a Dubai venue. So you go and work there. So it is your host country. Dubai becomes your host country. There is something also, a classification is there, which is called as third country nationals. Supposing the country's origin is in India and it operates in Dubai, but a person from Singapore is being posted over there. So third country national also can be posted. Now you understand how complicated it is for a HR manager to deal with the parent country national, host country national, and the third country national. So you have to draft, or you have to take care of so many things. Okay. So these 3 slides will talk about employee. Select pannom ipo. In recruitment, we will be looking into parent country nationals select panna enna advantages enna disadvantages. Host country nationals is being selected. What is the advantages and disadvantages? Third country nationals, what is the advantages and disadvantages? Each and everything has got their own advantages and disadvantages. நம்ம என்ன பண்ணோம்னா, there is no hard and fast rule. இவனை போட்டா சூப்பரா வேலை செஞ்சிருவான். So this fellow, no, nothing is possible. அப்படியெல்லாம் கிடையாது. We are trying to formulate a strategy to minimize the disadvantages and they make use of the advantages. Okay, so if the person is from the parent country, he's a parent country national, what happens? Control and coordination by the headquarters is maintained. Then promising managers get international experience. Then parent country national may be the best people for the job. Okay, பெருசா அவன cultural shock எல்லாம் எதுவும் இருக்காது. Assurance that the subsidiary will compile by the company's objectives and policies. But what is the disadvantages? The home countries nationals promotion opportunities are limited. Site on site போறவன் ஏகப்பட்டது காசு அள்ளுவான். But people those are working in the parent country national will have a very limited opportunities. Okay, adaptation to host country may take a long time. He will be fit only for the local scenario. He may not be fit for the international scenario. Then they may impose an inappropriate headquarters style. Boredom will be there. Monotonous will be there. As I rightly told you, compensation differences and the incentives differences will be very, very high as far as the parent country national and the host country national is concerned. நம்ம கூட படிச்சிருப்பான், நம்ம கூட ஜாயின் பண்ணிருப்பான், அவன் சம்பாதிக்கிறது ஜாஸ்தியா இருக்கும், நம்ம சம்பாதிக்கிறது ஜாஸ்தியா இருக்கும், which is going to create a problem in the compensation and the motivational aspect of the particular person. So how do you take care of him? That you have to be very clear. Then host country national advantages. We have opened up a particular plant in the parent in the host country, and then we are employing a person from the host country itself. So what are the advantages? That particular person, we need not teach him the language, the culture and all, because he is from the same country. So avanukku the problem rare. No language problem, no culture problem. Hiring cost is reduced. HR planning cost is reduced. We need not have a work permit for that person. If a person is sent from here, we need to go for the work permit and all. US now work permits have been restricted, right? So continuity of management also improves because they stay there for a longer position. They will not go from there. Suddenly they will not say the mother is calling me, sister is calling me, I'm coming here. So that will not be the scenario. Then government policy may force hiring of the host country nationals. Many countries make them operate in their country, forcing them to take people on employment opportunity has to be given for their country people only. Okay, that is the policy for that government. Then promotional opportunities are also not limited. So higher morale will be there with the host country nationals. So dealing them has got this and all advantages. Disadvantages, you cannot control them at all. In the operations part, very less control when compared to the home country people. And they have still a limited career opportunities because they are working in their place itself for a long time. And they don't have a chance to go to a foreign country. So they are working in their country itself. And then the hiring this host country nationals may take them to build up a federation. They will start a union. Okay, so that problem also will be there. Third country national. Home country, host country, country. So what is the advantages? The salary and compensation may be lower for them when comparing to the parent country national. They may be more familiar with they must be more familiar with the host country than the parent country nationals. Okay, instead of we sending from our country, some third host country national is working. So he may be very what do you call familiar with the host country because he's been there for a long time. Disadvantages, Patana, the transfer must consider the national animosities. Like you have to find out what is the pass given to them. Supposing people, those who travel from Malaysia to Singapore, though it is very little, then very, very nearby, there's lots and lots of problem like how you travel from here and go back to your place. So the host country government may resend TCNs as much as PCNs. They may ask them to go out soon. Then this third country nationals may not compile with the headquarters style of management. Complete control in operations will be very less. They may not want to return after the assignments also. Then what happens is these people, what and all we have to look into, மூணே விஷயம் தான் நீ நல்லா பார்க்கணும். Difference in the HR. Recruitment and selection is different for these guys. Compensation package is different for these guys. Training is different for these guys in terms of the traditional HR. Recruitment and selection, நான் சொன்ன மாதிரி different types of attributes are needed for these people to go and work in the on-site program. Okay, so selection, supposing they should know foreign language, isn't it or not? They need to go. They should be knowing the foreign language, or they should be enabled to learn the foreign language. If you want, if you people complete 12 grades of German, you can become a German citizen. You have to go. GOT is there, no? If you go and if you take up a German language, getting into it itself is a very tough this thing. But only with the language you can go and settle your life over there. Okay, so language should be there. The cultural things has to be known to them, and they should have a challenging type of mentality. They should accomplish themselves. So that type of people should be there. When you select them, qualification mattum paakada, we are looking into all the other aspects also. Look at the triads which I have written here. So many triads they need to have. Okay, all these triads have to be checked during the selection. They should have empathy, they should be flexible, they should have some patience, openness, reliability, confidence, emotional stability, communication, tolerances for differences, humor. So they should be sensitive, teaching skills, able to handle alcoholism, curiosity, positive regard for others, acceptability for assignments, non-ethnocentrism, high motivation, then courtesy, adaptability, tolerance for ambiguity, language skills, interest in host culture. They should like the Western culture when they go there. Okay, so there are so many literatures which talk about the training of people inside for a foreign assignment. We call that as cross-cultural management or cross-cultural training. What happens is if you go to a foreign country, you will have a cultural shock. Okay, their way of behaving is something very, 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 very different. Anything you go and you face a cultural shock. So what we will do is in the HR department, people will be trained on the culture of that particular host country, their practices, their beliefs, their value system. You are supposed to tell them properly, and you should tell them there is no right or there is no wrong. That is their culture. So you have to admit to it and you have to abide by it. You are not supposed to criticize people over there. You are not supposed to tell, why are you doing like this? Why are you doing like that? And you go very confused. The culture and ethos, what we have in our country is different, and what is there in the foreign country is different. So you should not try to go and have a test drive over there, because your guilty consciousness will kill you when you are not abiding by your culture. So you should train these people on how you have to accommodate yourself to the cultural differences between the home country and the host country. You have to clearly tell them you are going there for business and you have nothing to do with their cultural aspects. You are not supposed to talk to them on their other values, beliefs, and all these things. Supposing you are going to Japan or you are going to Singapore, you are not supposed to go to a hotel over there and tell, why are you eating this? Why are you eating that? You people are bad because you eat this. You people are good because you don't eat that. There is nothing like that. Okay, they are practiced to that and they are doing it. So you should be very clear to find out that you are going to make them complete the work. That's it. And likewise, this international training and development talks about the area studies, cultural studies, language, sensitivity training program. So I will tell you an example. Once my husband was to a consignment in Italy. So in Italy, we always think that they have got a free culture. It's not so. Supposing after 7 o'clock, you're not supposed to ring up to a women employee there, because they clearly tell we have got our household work. So no men are supposed to call people after 7 o'clock in their house. Okay, so they have got certain things. You and they are very sensitive for that also. So you're not supposed to use your own style of working over there. Whatever we have in Indian scenario should not be done there. So people will be given sensitivity training. You cannot use certain words. You cannot use certain body languages to people over there. So we give sensitive training. We give them field experiences program. Some videos will be put for the accent training, and then your body language. For all these things, training will be given to people. Only then they will be sent to the foreign consignment. So it talks about the area studies. Area studies means velavasi evlo anga. How much does it cost? How long should you travel? From which place to which place you are supposed to travel? What are the mode of transport? Will you have communication over there? African countries, what is the mode of transport? You cannot take your own car and keep on driving from this place to the other place. Mostly you have to go by aircraft. You cannot travel in the deserts. And communication is cut. You don't have full-fledged communications like what we have in India or developed economy. Okay, so they will be telling you like only this food will be available. Okay, area studies. So area studies, culture is about the traditions, values, and all those stuff. Third thing, what importantly we have to talk to them is about the compensation. The compensation will have a huge difference, because what is the home country cost of living and what is the host country cost of living? That has to be clearly told to them. If the compensation is not adequate to manage at the host country, then this fellow will become literally mad. If someone says, I will give you 1.5 lakh rupees to go and to live in, if you take Singapore, where we went last time, the person who works in jewelry shop says that he is getting monthly salary nearly 90,000 rupees. But for our country, a person working in a jewelry shop, 90,000 rupees, but the cost of living in Singapore is in such a way that it is very, very tough for them to live there, because the tax is more for them. Okay, so 90,000 is a small amount for them. So this compensation has to base on the cost of living, and then tax, what is being levied upon the individual, and all those activities should be taken into care when you are there. And likewise, if they are home country national working in a foreign country, they will go to a foreign assignment just to save some money and then to give it to the family. Okay, so what you should do, whenever there is an assignment for us, what we will ask, okay, how much money can I send to my house after all my expenses there? How much can I save? Then I'm a kepo. So you should give a concrete money which is more than what you earn in the home country, and you have to give it. Such a way you have to fit up the compensation. Okay, they will get a lump sum amount, particularly people from IT and ITS. If they go for a foreign assignment, they will be given a lump sum amount when they come back from the foreign country, and that amount can be used for a different purpose. And the cost of living managed they will give compensation. The compensation structure will be something entirely different from what is prevailing in the home country or when they were here. Okay, so international compensation will take care of nearly 6 things. Premium, expatriation premium. வெளிய போய் வேலை செய்யறதால எனக்கு ஒரு premium amount கிடைக்கணும். Cost of living allowance, swamp pay allowance, shelter allowance, education allowance, and home leave. So I should get home leave with the travel. Okay, with the pay, I should get leave and I have to come to my home. For that also, I should have some allowance. So all these things should be there in the compensation. Okay, now coming back to what I told you, expatriate na, from our country, we have sent him to a foreign country. On expatriate compensation is சொல்லுவோம். There is another person who is called as repatriation. அங்கேயே 10 வருஷம் 20 வருஷம் வேலை செஞ்சுட்டு they will come back to the home country. Repatriation. So virtually these people, dealing with them also is very tough. 10 வருஷம் போயிட்டு he will work in US project, then he will come back to India. For him again, திருப்பி ஒரு ஷாக் வந்துரும், கல்ச்சுரல் ஷாக். நம்ம ஊரை பார்த்தா ஐயோ டெவலப்பே ஆகலையே, So he will start comparing himself and he will feel very, very upset. Job related factors are also there in the shock, and social factors also will be there as a shock. I had this, I had that, I lost my status, I lost my pay. All these things he will start telling. Okay, so you have to deal with this person also. You should deal very much properly with this repatriate also. So managing human resources in the international context is very, very different. So you people, if at all you got a specialization paper